I've been doing these skills now and working under primitive skills since 2001. And it's been an interesting journey to see the growth that takes place within a person when they actually start practicing them. That no matter what culture you belong in, everybody lives on Earth.
Yeah.
So to go through stereotypes and everything like that, people seem to lose focus that we are all one and the same, and we all need the same things. Attitude, shelter, water, fire, and food. No matter how you wrap the bundle or what people want, you need those basic necessities. And everything else becomes a want. But unfortunately, in a lot of our society today, we've taken a lot of that stuff out of context, and we've basically put giant bubbles around our children that don't allow them to get dirty, walk barefoot, and experience life. Education goes, this is what you have to learn, memorize it, regurgitate it on a piece of paper, and that's it, you learned. But over the years, I've realized that everything culminated into a student that we had just a few weeks ago, that after, he's in his 40s, that he said he went through 12 years of school and didn't learn nothing. He made a living, he had a great job, but he didn't know how to live. He knew how to live within the system, but he didn't know the plants around him, that he could make a shelter without any other tools other than his hands, or breaking sticks and doing things like that, and how to gather water and make a fire, even if it's with a lighter. I've worked with children from preschool all the way to elders, teaching these skills. It all comes down to the same thing, just getting that experience and having it themselves, and just guiding them through the process, and asking them questions and allowing them to figure out things on their own. Primitive skills, you can change the name to life skills, learning to take care of yourself by whatever means necessary to survive.
For me, a really important thing about primitive skills from an educator standpoint is that kids today and young adults, in my opinion, are brought up in a world where they don't have to think for themselves. They have everything handed to them. They're plopped in front of a television. When you teach survival skills and primitive skills to children, they have this amazing, amazing chance to be able to think about where everything comes from. They need to think about where their next meal is coming from. They need to think about how to get water. They need to think about how to collect materials in order to make their fire. And it's this amazing, amazing experience. And working with a lot of kids of all different age groups, including at-risk youth and younger children and everything in between. It's an amazing thing to see a child get their first bow drill fire. They get this friction fire, and the smile on their face is something that you can never get with sitting inside and watching a video game. It's a really special that I think is really important for us to get back to those roots, to a more kind of natural state.
You know how you see people who want to feel a part of something, just connected to anything that's life. Primitive skills gives us that. We can touch the earth. We can have communities who care about touching the earth and get close. By building that connection, we learn about timelessness, and that's absolutely marvelous in a society like we have today. We're so far removed from the concept of not having a schedule that to get anything to where we can slow down and find calm is a gift truly from above. And with that connectedness and with that timelessness, then we can finally have some sense of peace. So for anyone looking for true peace, Primitive skills is a way to get there.
Hi, Daddy.
It started when I was younger, probably 11 or 12, and I got hooked on the concept of survival, and my mom was always telling me that I was geared for something more, and she always kept feeding me like these survival manuals and like, you know, the worst case survival scenarios and all of these other things, and a lot of Tom Brown's books and things like that. And it started with survival, and then the what if scenarios in my brain just kept on going, and it was like, well, what if you don't have matches? What if you don't have a lighter? You know, what if the wet dry sandpaper inside my little waterproof match container, you know, gets fouled somehow, and I run out and, like, you know, all hell breaks loose and poop hits the fan. And so the what if scenarios kept on playing in, and it went from me wanting to learn survival skills to getting more and more and more and more basic. And then from that, it turned into a lifestyle. It became less of a concept of why should I practice primitive skills and why should I practice survival skills and all of these things, to this is an amazing way to live life because I'm actually living, and I feel like I have control over my life. I feel like I have the ability to keep myself alive and not just live, but like thrive and really enjoy the crap out of life, you know? And so that's why primitive skills.
I think for the why primitive skills question, aside from the obvious, you know, playing in the woods and having fun, you know, playing with fire, it, for me, and I think for many, stems back to the notion of when we're kids, we know these skills even though we were never taught them. We know how to be aware and how to be mindful of our surroundings, and then we enter into schools and enter into society, and it kind of breaks that down little by little and kind of robs us of our natural right to be curious. I think through primitive skills and kind of the native awareness being taught in the quote-unquote survival schools, we're able to reconnect with skills that are maybe not grandparents, but, you know, great-grandparents had, the familiarity with the natural landscapes and how to use all of what you're harvesting, whether it be plant or animal resources, through seeing what the schools have to teach will give us the chance to kind of connect back with that natural birthright that we have, to know our landscape, to know what it's like to live like our ancestors did, and to give us the choice whether or not to continue on this path that we had stopped for us as children, whether we want to get that curiosity back or whether we want to succumb to the machine and just go on with our lives. Many of us here at the school saw that chance. It may have been this weekend, it may have been years ago, but saw that chance and made the choice to go back to the way things were and to try to live with one foot in both worlds.